strange, really. A few weeks ago I was saying that I've never heard of Asmik, the maker of Conquest of the Crystal Palace. And here we are, reviewing another Asmik game. But have you ever heard of WURM, Journey to the Center of the Earth? Yeah, me neither. And I've gotta say it. What's up with their mascot? It's just a silly looking lump of a dinosaur that stares at you. It just stares. Straight at me. Looking into my soul. Consuming it. Okay, let's move on. Right from the title screen, if you don't press the start button, you're treated to an intro scene that attempts to tell you what's going on. These scenes of the crew of the VZR-5 are the same scenes you'll witness over and over during the stages, and there's hardly any animation shown. The character's eyes and mouth will blink a bit to simulate talking or blinking, and you may see the female character, whose name is Moby and happens to be the captain of the vehicle, walking outside. But other than that, animation is minimal in these scenes. It reminds me of a half-assed Ninja Gaiden cutscene, but that doesn't mean they're lackluster. The story is, but not the scenes themselves. The story. You play as Moby and her crew trying to dig their way down into the planet to find 4 lost crews that were sent down here prior. Just so happens that Moby has a special interest, since 2 of the MIA crew members are her father and lover. No, they're not the same person, you sick freak. I said 2 of the members, not the one MIA. Oh, never mind. The gameplay itself varies depending on the part of the stage you're at. The first part of each level is a driving/flying stage, where you directly control the VZR-5, or 4 depending on what stage you're in. The controls can seem pretty self-explanatory, but then this might happen. It's a definite what the hell moment if you've never played before and don't have the instruction manual. So, here's how it works. Naturally, the directional pad moves you and the B button shoots. And although you can't exactly jump, you can still cross that chasm by pressing up and A. Basically, in these segments, the A button functions as your mode switch. Up and down cycles between a rolling VZR, a hovering one, or after the first stage, a full-fledged flying one. Ooh, say that one 5 times fast. The rolling and hovering one has a drill that's used to plow through some of the walls, but the flying one moves you quicker and fires much more powerful shots. Here's the catch though. See that fuel meter? It's essentially your timer. If you're hovering, you're going to eat up fuel quicker than just driving along the road. And if you're flying, you better make it quick. Thankfully, some enemies will drop fuel replenishments, so if you want to be on the lookout for those. In addition, although it really doesn't come into play until the final stage, pressing left or right button along with A switches your weapon. Other than this, these vehicle segments are your standard horizontal scrolling affair. You shoot the enemies down and navigate the terrain. Once you get to a certain point, the screen will shake and you'll get to watch a scene. The game will then shift into one of 3 other gameplay modes, at least normally. I think there's one other time where there's another side-scrolling part immediately after a previous one. Let's stay with the vehicle and move on to the vertical scrolling stages, which there aren't really a lot. It's essentially the same system, except you'll be moving upwards instead of right. There's really not much else to say other than to watch these strange square objects, because for some freaking reason, they'll kill you outright. Oops, forgot to mention the shield. This is your life bar in the horizontal and vertical stages. If you get hit, you'll take a varied amount of damage, and as long as you're not getting hurt, this meter will replenish on its own. So you can technically hang back and wait for your shield to regen, then continue on, as long as your fuel gauge is at a safe level. On to the bosses. These are just flat out strange, and not in the bosses themselves. It's more how you kill the bosses. You'll see a possibility meter and your life. You want to get the possibility up to 100%, and when this happens, the boss explodes. But how do you do this? Well, partly by shooting specific parts of the enemy, typically when it's attacking. This is a bit different to do without taking damage yourself though, but you can do it even quicker by talking with your crew members. Each one will have something different to say with varying stat changes. Some will increase or even decrease your life meter, so if you know who replenishes it, you can just keep talking to them to build your life meter back up. But your interest should mainly be finding who will give you large boosts to the possibility meter. Normally, you can't just defeat the boss just by talking, so you will need to make a few lucky shots. It's just weird in practice though. What makes it worse than it really needs to be is that fact that the hit detection of your actual shots just feels way too off. You're told at one point that the eye is a weak point, yet shooting the eye may not actually yield any effects unless you're at the exact frame that the enemy needs to be at. And there are times where there should be no question on whether you're actually hitting the enemy or not. Yeah, it's not taking damage. Overall, these bosses are just an exercise on patience. The final gameplay style is in the form of a labyrinthian shooting level. You control Moby directly, and she will walk around looking for a crew member, shooting or kicking enemies down. You press B to shoot, and in order to kick, you simply press up. The enemies will occasionally drop ammo or health pickups, so you can be on the lookout for those. Enemies drop easily after a few shots, and occasionally you come across a boss that just escapes after you do a little bit of damage to it. The biggest challenge to these stages are just trying to figure out exactly where to go, because the path making isn't exactly logical. If you fall down a hole on the right, and then go to the left and jump up a hole there, you may come out of the same pit. Ah, video game logic. So now that I went through all the gameplay types, how much fun is the game? Well, honestly, I was pretty bored with it quickly. The vehicle sections are actually fairly entertaining, at least until you get to the 5th act and start dying like there's no tomorrow against these starfish-like creatures. The boss battles are mundane, and I feel that if the possibility meter was removed for a traditional health bar and the hit detection was fixed, it could have been more fun. And as for controlling Moby, it just feels out of place at times. For one, her animation looks a bit wonky, and her color choices really don't look appropriate with all the other depressingly drab colors. I'm not saying that the drab colors themselves are a bad choice, because you are traveling under the earth in caverns. I'm just saying that Moby looks too bright. And the enemy choices are lackluster. Really, there's only about 3 enemies you'll encounter: an occasional bat or a dog, and a normal humanoid creature that attacks by jumping over you. Just by watching this review, you probably picked up the attack pattern and realized just how easy it really can be to eliminate your threat. Boring. And strangely, when encountering Moby's father in Act 4, she just walks away, leaving him chained up. What the fuck? What kind of a daughter would leave her father chained up in a dungeon 600 some miles below the Earth's surface? What a bitch! There are only 5 acts in the game, each one containing about 3 to 4 stages in each. There is a password system containing of only about 4 digits per password. If you want them, here they are. The strange thing is that when inputting them, the game doesn't signify what digit you're on, so you have to use trial and error. A bit strange. Plus, the passwords are only given out when you die, so if you reach a new level and need to stop, you'll need to perish first to get the password. If you don't want the password and decide to try getting through on one try, you do have infinite continues available. Overall, it's pretty hard to recommend WURM Journey to the Center of the Earth. It's a bit lackluster, as the story is forgettable, the gameplay mundane and at times flat out boring, and the boss is a test of patience. I'd honestly pass on this one, as although it's a fairly solid and playable game, I just didn't find it very fun. If anything, you might enjoy the vehicle stages, but even these feel just a small step above some of the unlicensed crap that the NES was prone to seeing. Final score? 6 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.